Hey, Vsauce, Ninja here, and how dead can a series get? I'm sure you're aware of the really famous examples like Half-Life and well every other Valve game, but I personally believe that Sega is the most prevalent when it comes to dead franchises. Fans have been craving for the like of Jet Set Radio, Panzer Dragoon, Knights, Billy Hatcher, Virtual Fighter, Rystar, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi, House of the Dead, Fantasy Star, Gunstar Hero. But as much as I love those series, the one that has personally hurt me the most to see ignored was Super Monkey Ball. This series of games pretty much defined the majority of my childhood. Most of the games that I played at the time were multiplayer like Super Smash Bros. And Mario Party. Monkey Ball, mainly the second one, was some of the first games I played by myself, which gave it so much more meaning to me. And since I never seem to review any game I actually like, I decided that I want to review a game in this franchise. And since this is the first video talking about the series, for this review, I'm going to stick with the first console release of the series and a GameCube launch title, Super Monkey Ball. I'm also bringing in a special guest, who is a fellow game reviewer and a Monkey Ball fan, Jeff Compass, to share his input on how he feels about this entry in the series.
Hello everyone, it is Jeff Compass, alternatively known as Gaming Compass or Mr. Shovelware, whatever you all know me as. I've lost track myself. Super Monkey Ball has changed my life, to put it simply. It's easily one of the best video games of all time in my opinion, with its simple but addicting gameplay. I've done many reviews on the games in this series on my own YouTube channel, focusing on more of the bad ones such as Adventure and Banana Blitz, and the reason I call these games bad is because I think Monkey Ball 1 and 2 really did set a high precedent for the series to follow. Monkey Ball 1 and 2 are the golden age of the series, and today I'm really happy to help talk about what made Monkey Ball 1 so good and what made the series so awesome and innovative. So, take it away, Ninja.
The development of Super Monkey Ball actually began as a port of the arcade original to the Dreamcast, originally titled Monkey Ball. From the few screenshots we have of this build, it looks surprisingly close to the game we ended up getting later on, with a few world themes presumably switched around. But when the Dreamcast started failing, Sega decided to switch development over to the GameCube, and when the console launched in 2001 alongside of it was Super Monkey Ball. My introduction to the series was actually Super Monkey Ball Jr. and the Game Boy Advance, which is more not a downgrade port of the first game in order to run the system. I didn't actually get to play Super Monkey Ball Jr. until my older brother got it along with a copy of Luigi's Mansion on GameCube. If you didn't already know, the goal in Super Monkey Ball is to tilt the stage in order to get the monkey into the goal in order to complete the floor. The closest thing I can compare it to is Labyrinth from Marble Madness, which is a similar kind of goal. The only controls you get is the analog stick to move and the A button to increase or decrease the minimap that is present in the corner of the screen. The game is separated by 3 difficulty modes, each of which getting progressively harder and adding more stages. You get 3 lives and 2 continues, which you can add more of by getting play points, which are given to you based on how good you play. The joy of this game comes from trying to play your best and see how far you can make it in each of the difficulty modes. Or if you're good enough, you could try to clear the stages as fast as possible or do a run where you try to get every banana. If you are having trouble with a level, there is the practice mode where you can play any of the levels that you have encountered in the main game and practice them as long as you want, and if you pause during a replay that displays that they're clearing a floor, you can even save a replay of you completing the floor, further adding to the idea of trying to optimize your gameplay. And the game does incentivize better play, because if you clear difficulty mode without losing a life, with the exception of Expert, which you have to do without using Continue, otherwise it would be actually impossible, you'll unlock the extra stages, which are a few more challenging stages that will take place in a space-themed area. And they're pretty much just an award for your efforts, but they do give a vague idea on how the next difficulty is going to go.
You can definitely tell this was meant to be a Dreamcast game. The game uses only one stick, no camera control, akin to the Dreamcast which only had one stick on the controller. It does feel like a Dreamcast game, or at least that's the impression I got out of it. It's definitely a game that doesn't take full advantage of the GameCube controller and does feel like an arcade game, which at the same time is actually really pleasant. Sometimes simplicity takes reign. All you really need is a joystick to play this game. It could have been done on an Atari controller, and in an age where games use every button on a controller such as Dark Souls or Grand Theft Auto, it's nice that there exists a game casual players can enjoy. Simplicity is sometimes the key.
The main thing that helps this game remain as fun to play as it is the game's tight controls and physics engine. Controlling the ball is surprisingly great feeling. The closest way I can describe it is funnily enough rolling a ball. Anything from the amount of inertia the ball has to how it reacts to slopes just feels correct. Another main draw to the game is the monkeys in the ball itself. They are all extremely cute and likable characters, and are modeled extremely well for 2001 GameCube standards, with maybe Gongon as an exception. They are all extremely unique in appearance and voices. Everyone will have their favorite that they will grow to like. The monkeys do more than just look cute though. They also give the player visual and audio feedback on the amount of speed the ball has, or if you're close to the edge of a platform. They are really an important part of the game that both helps the experience and makes it more memorable. You can also tell that precision was a high priority when this game was made, because most of the level design of the harder stages either uses momentum or requires the player to roll along skinny platforms. Super Monkey Ball's arcade feel, constantly being in the action with quick challenging stages and only minor breaks, helps keep the pace up so you don't get bored as often. It also doubles to make going through the difficulty if you end up gaming over feel less tedious. And the longer you keep going, the more challenging it gets, so you constantly want to keep challenging yourself in order to see how good you can get. The game will even reward the players who get really good with the mechanics by having green and red goals on certain floors. The rewards taking a harder path through the level by skipping some of the floors, which can make beating a difficulty harder to continue a little more tangible. Although there's sometimes easy tasks, but it's helped how good the GameCube controller is. I didn't actually realize how little of a dead zone the GameCube controller has until I played Super Monkey Ball Deluxe on PS2, which feels so awful to play due to the imprecise nature of the PS2 analog stick. Seriously, this console is not made for games like Monkey Ball. The quality of the joystick really matters because you will immediately notice the difference when playing. Seriously, the GameCube controller can read the most minute of control stick movements, which can really help when you need to readjust yourself. In a game where you will find yourself having to precisely move across skinny platforms often, having this level of control is greatly appreciated. Another thing that I like about the GameCube controller in this game is the ridges on the controller. It will come in handy very often when you want to just hold forward, because sometimes doing that can be really hard when under the stress of the looming timer above you. And it is just another thing about this controller that I wish more gaming companies would bring back.
This might come as a shock to you guys, but I actually downright prefer to play Super Monkey Ball with a gaming controller. To many people, the game controller is the only acceptable choice for, say, Super Smash Bros., and I agree with that there, but I actually feel the same way about the gaming controller for Super Monkey Ball. This is a game that really does require precision, and like Ninja said, the PS2 controls don't cut it, and especially not motion controls like the later entries in the series introduced.
But enough about controllers. I think the one thing most people know about Super Monkey Ball 1 when they hear it mentioned is the difficulty. Now, I haven't played a large chunk of the GameCube library, but I don't believe I'd be lying if I said Super Monkey Ball is one of the hardest games on the GameCube. This mainly comes down to the game's expert mode. Now, for the first few levels it doesn't seem that bad. Expert 4 is fairly challenging, but as long as you pay attention you should be fine. But let me tell you that Expert 7 is probably the most evil level in the entire game. As far as raw difficulty goes, it's far from the hardest level, and we haven't even touched Master Mode yet. But for its placement in Expert, this level becomes infamous among players. It is such a large difficulty spike compared to what came before it, to the point where some players hadn't even ever passed Expert 7 in the entire time they played the game. This is due to the three main challenges in this game that you need to overcome. Challenge 1 is slopes. Being that you are a monkey and a ball, it is expected that you will be influenced by slopes. The developers were obviously aware of this and chose to make slopes both your best friend and your worst enemy. The game loves to give you stages where you have to fight against slopes to repeated depths until you figure out the correct route to the goal. And in my opinion, these stages are the hardest in the entire game. The second main challenge is inertia. Since you're on a timer, it would make sense that you would want to move fast through the stage, either to just get through the level faster or to get to a precision platforming section faster so you have more time to do it. Since slowing down on a slope stage isn't the easiest, you end up falling off the stage no matter how much you try to slow down. You can hold back as much as you want, but you're falling off that stage. So sometimes you have to fight against moving faster through the stage and having a higher chance of dying. The third and final thing you have to worry about is the skinny platforms. As good as the dead zone is on the GameCube controller, without a lot of practice, these skinny platform sections can be brutal. For straight lines it isn't that bad, just line yourself up and hold forward with maybe some minor adjusting, but these start to get really hard once turns are involved. Both the thickness of the platform and the stress of the timer can make these sections absolutely brutal. This is especially bad in Expert 7, where the level ends with an extremely long, skinny turning platform.
That is something that always bothered me, how level 7 in Expert is one of the hardest and it's early on into Expert. I love the game, but it's tough for me not to feel as if the pacing is off in terms of difficulty. When I was a kid, I lost all my lives on level 7 in Expert and then breezed through most of the remaining levels. I feel like this could have been easily avoided. I'm not going to say it's a fatal flaw that ruined the game, but I imagine many casual Monkey Ball fans gave up on Expert due to the stage, and that's disappointing since the rest of Expert is pretty fair in comparison.
But if you can persevere through the challenge, you have a pretty good reward to show for it. If you can get through all of Expert and its extra stages without using a continue, you will be transported to Master Stages, a set of 10 of some of the hardest stages the game has to offer, really testing your skills as a player of the game. This is an expansion from the arcade game which only had one Master Stage. This is probably the hardest unlockable I've ever seen in a video game. Getting the Master is no joke, you seriously have to be a master at this game to get here. Doing the 50 plus stages required is one of the hardest feats I can possibly imagine doing. The stages have a heavenly theme to them, resembling the end screen scene after you complete one of the difficulty modes. It has some of the best music the game has to offer. Unfortunately, you don't get anything particularly special for beating it. You still get the same ending cutscene for when you beat Expert, and the text of what floor you beat turns into Master. But I understand that the real reward is the bragging rights you get for being great at the game. Aside from the escalating difficulty of the stages, as you advance further into a difficulty mode, the background around the stages change. It always starts as a grassy plain, but it will change into some temple ruins, to underwater, then to a desert, and more. The backgrounds help give the player a sense of progression as they go through the mode, letting them visualize how far they made it through each difficulty. These also show off the game's graphics, which for the time it honestly looks stunning. The use of bright colors combined with a semi-realistic textures gives this game a really appealing art style, and aside from some low poly models in the backgrounds, it still hold up well. Since the stages aren't that large in this game for the most part, I imagine this allowed the developers to put more graphical detail into the textures, models, and other aspects of the game, like a rain effect in the stormy area or heat waves in the desert area, or my personal favorite, reflective floors. Not only did he show off the power of the Genki well, they also add to the theming of the levels. Another great aspect of the different level themes is the different music for each theme. The music in the game perfectly fits the level theme for which it's used, and I'm sure if I played the music for someone who hasn't played a game in this franchise before, they could tell me the setting in which it's used.
The music and graphics are one of the best aspects of this game. What's special about them, to me at least, is that they have this unique feel to them that I feel no game has ever replicated. It's tough to explain, but they have this great early 2000s Japanese arcade game feel that the later games in the series completely threw away in more chibi kind of character designs and neon levels. I can't describe how great Super Monkey Ball's tone is. It's one of a kind. It's a game that playing late at night you have a warm, fuzzy feeling. Again, something the later games, in my opinion, never captured. This game has some of the best music tracks to ever grace a video game. The song Storm enhances the later levels of Expert, as it gets you pumped up and excited to take on these levels. Again, this game is just excellent on the forefront of graphics and music, especially for a game released in 2001, almost 20 years ago.
As great as the single player in this game is, it is advertised as a party game, so what multiplayer offerings does this game have? Well, first of all, you can do the main game multiplayer with up to 4 players. Each player takes turn playing and will alternate if a player loses a monkey. Admittedly, this mode can get pretty drawn out and fairly boring if you have a full group of 4, but its inclusion is a nice option for those who are interested. There is also competition mode, where you pick up the 5 levels from the practice mode menu and up to 4 players to play in split screen, and it's a race so you can complete the level fastest, earning a set amount of bananas when they do, and whoever has the most bananas at the end wins. There was some obvious graphical downgrades in order to keep the frame rate high, like lower quality models and most of the reflections and stuff like heat waves or the water light refraction on the ground was removed, but overall a very fun mode. Aside from that, the other multiplayer options can be found in the minigame and party game menus. The party games unlocked from the start and include Monkey Fight, which is a mode where your monkey is equipped with a boxing glove and you have to knock other players off the stage for points. Having the most points for the time it ends wins the round, and if you win 3 rounds, you win. There are 3 arenas to fight in and multiple power-ups that make knocking the monkeys off the arena easier. The next party game is Monkey Race. This one is mostly self-explainable. It is a mode where you race your monkeys around a handful of tracks, and the goal is to be the fastest around the track. There are several power-ups that can be used to either give yourself an advantage or make it harder for the other racers to control. Despite this mode having some slippery controls and sometimes questionable track designs, this is the best of the 3 party games in my opinion. The third and final party game is Monkey Target. This is a minigame where you jump off the ramp and fly using the ball, and the goal is to land on a target to earn points. The harder the spot to land on, the higher the points. And if you fall into the water, you earn 0 points. There are also power-ups to pick up that can increase your point multiplier and make it easier to land. There's also wind that can affect how easy it is to control. I never saw a minigame that was fun for a few hours. The next set of games are the sports themed minigames. What makes these different from the party games is that you have to unlock them using the play points you unlock from playing the game. The first minigame is Monkey Billiards. This is just a game of billiards being played in Super Monkey Ball. Although the concept might seem out of place, it is surprisingly an extremely solid mode that is definitely worth going back to. It controls well and even has a tournament mode. I also love how it takes place in a monkey bar and has some of the best songs in the whole game. The second minigame present is Monkey Bowling. It is a game of 10-pin bowling but with Super Monkey Ball. Most of it is pretty mundane, allowing you to add spin to the ball, but some of the lanes are tilted or moving to add some variety. This mode is about as standard as it gets. The final minigame is Monkey Golf. It is a full 18-hole game of golf, and one of the deeper minigames in display, having a good amount of content for this minigame. Although it isn't really my thing, it does control well, and I've heard good things about it from people who are interested in it. These minigames and party games are a great distraction from the main game mode. It can easily be replayed for hours on end. It was clear that a lot of effort was put into these, particularly in the music. The minigames have my personal favorite songs on the whole soundtrack.
The more that you play the main game, the more play points that you get. One thing that always bothered me about the play points is that you can't earn them in multiplayer for whatever reasons. You can only earn them alone in single player gameplay. This almost seems like an oversight. I get that they probably didn't just want people to choose 4 players and increase the point threshold, but I still think they could have given some points. Say if you're doing 4 player, each person gets 1/4 points. Anyways, you can still use play points to unlock the 3 main minigames in this game, and then from there you can use the 2,500 play points to grant yourself an extra continue, which eventually does lead to unlimited continues. The more play points you get definitely adds more replay value to the game. In conclusion, Super Monkey Ball is a great game, but quite difficult. While it may look like a game fun for young kids, only the beginner and advanced modes are really appropriate for them. The game gets quite difficult after those. However, for a gamer looking for a hard challenge with fun, quirky characters, look no further. This game is easily one of the most memorable games of the GameCube library. And while the rest of the series has had its ups and downs, this is one of the ups.
If you're someone who hasn't heard of this franchise before, maybe saw it at a flea market once or twice and decided to pass up on it, I highly recommend it. Or that, or the game's sequels to Monkey Ball 2, which many fans consider to be better than the original. Or maybe you could consider picking up Banana Blitz HD, which is coming out late October. With that being said, that's it for this video. Now I'm gonna roll out. Second main challenge is inertia. Since you're on a timer, it would make sense that you would want to move fast through the stage, either to just get through the level faster or to get to a precision platforming section faster so you have more time to do it. I did it, boys! God dang it, that did not need to be that hard. I need to have inertia getting through that dang sentence. That was a F. Okay.